Okay, so here we are playing Silverton, and I've dealt out the turn order cards. Blue's going first. He's got a pile of silver over here on Westcliff. Doesn't feel a real hurry to get there. Now, this could be a problem. Somebody could slip down here and then cut over and maybe get the jump on him there. Doing so is just being very dicky. Is he that advantaged? I don't know. What he's going to do, though, is drop the track up to Denver to try to grab that. He's got the advantage there. He's going to get that Denver to Pueblo run. He's also going to take this prospector and throw it on top of the deck. He couldn't find anything he wanted here, and he can't. He doesn't have a commercial route that he can compete for. All right, we'll keep going with some of the others. Come back after everything. For the most part, everybody's in their own little world, except for red and green, and that's this Denver Pueblo thing. People are, competing over the same. Now, everything, the richest stuff is here. There's no question. If you were playing a two-player game, say, without playing a spike game, which is just foolish, unless you both started in Denver, basically, or Denver and Pueblo. Whoever, if one person chose, or there's no scenario that two-player scenario that puts you both in different places and no one in Denver, or not both of them in Denver, Pueblo area. But if somehow you made picks to be not in that area, you'd be at a significant disadvantage. And in the spike scenarios, 2 or 3 player spike, they're centered in here. But anyway, green and red are competing over this track. This is, I believe, the best track to get to Leadville, which is of key importance, and Aspen, which green wants to collect up. They've got some silver sitting there. They're also both competing on the Colorado Springs run. So I'm going to roll some dice. I'll come back with the results so that you don't have to hear the dice rolling. So luckily, these actually came out not all in one person's favor. Green got the run to Aspen, which is good because they've got the Aspen card. They're going to have the best route to Leadville. That doesn't really matter too much except for this Denver to Leadville route. There are other ways into Leadville. So if you have a lot of mines in Leadville, which is quite possible, you can still compete for them. But red won the Denver to Colorado Springs card, which is going to produce, $50 a turn for them. Everybody's going to pay out their stuff and buy their items, and we'll come back. Well, it's still early enough in the game that I don't want to jump all the way through. Let me take a look at Blue's turn. They drew from the top of the deck where they had their prospector and pulled this. They don't want this. It's way down here. They're not interested. So it gets added to the pile of cards. That means when White Oaks goes, there's still going to be 8 cards, so there will be no replenishment. They got lucky enough that they didn't lose their surveyor or their prospector, which can happen. They also bought this. That's $120, and now they got to pay if they want to run Westcliff again. So that's $30 more, the operating cost. So that's $150, and they roll again, but this time they roll 2 dice, and they get a 2. That's not a good roll at all. That'll kill anything. Certainly it'll kill Westcliff. So we have to get a depletion marker. That means he can never roll again on this mine. And in fact, if he gets all the stuff off of there, the mine just disappears. It's not even a location that he can transship to anymore. Anyway, that was not a good turn for him, but he owes $150 for it. I guess that's it. Let's take a look at Purple's turn as well. They built the track going up here to Heber City. Now, they've got some interesting choices, but let's look at what they did. That cost them $140. They also paid $50 to pick up the passenger route. They're at $190. Another $40 for Heber City, $230. I paid that in. They have to pay all that money. They have to have that cash on hand in order to do the things they want to. Now they can start collecting money, and they get $20 for the Salt Lake City to Provo. I've already accounted that in. I showed the money and grabbed the rest from the bank. Now they've got 4 silver they could haul from Heber City. Now, they're running a 9 train, which means they actually do not have enough power to haul all the stuff there. Silver counts half weight. They'd have to haul 10 goods. They'd have to have a 10 train because they're running over a 5 track here, and they've got 4 silver. That would normally be 20 points of train they would need, but because silver is half, it's only 10. Still, they don't have enough train. They would like to sell all their silver at once. Silver at $200 isn't that great, though. It doesn't look like anybody else is dumping silver very soon, but they do want to be in the position where they can. So what they're going to do is they're going to buy that $120 train, and they'll owe that cash. I'll put that in. If I didn't note it in the rules introduction, you can only have 4 trains total. And that's, if you're playing a spike scenario, that's between your different segments of track. They have to actually be separated by track, by the different segments until you get the spike, the joining. In this case, 2 is fine. He's got enough track power to pull the silver he has. He picked up a depleted marker, so he's not producing anymore. But we'll see where it all turns out. Well, everybody else bought out their things too. Yellow picked up the El Paso to Deming run, making some money back. Remember, this breaks even a little after 2 runs, so after 2 turns, and you get the money on that first turn that you buy it. So it's really good to grab these as soon as possible, as opposed to the mines and such not, which yes, you get to produce longer, but they deplete eventually. So you'll probably break about even in terms of, yeah, you'll come out about the same no matter when you buy your mine. It's just a competition for getting them. And if you're down here, you don't have to worry too much about other people. Of course, if White bought that White Oaks one, hey, it's White Oaks and they're white, right? Of course it's theirs. Green's a little interesting here, and I wanted to highlight something about them. So they bought their track getting down here to South Platte, which is not a mine location, it's just a dot. The mine locations have a little black thing, or they're these squares perhaps with a white dot. And they ran their silver mine and got another massive 4 silver. Big good roll, 2 dice on that. But then they spent $40, and I had to handwrite these in so I don't have to look at the rules all the time, for a +2 snowplow. Now, a +2 snowplow is not sufficient to guarantee that you can get over this track piece. It's a 4 track location. I think they roll 1 die, so +2 means that there's a 1 in 6 chance that won't work. But here's the thing. You can only buy 1 snowplow or train per turn. So they want to collect these up. +2s aren't terrible. They can always exchange them. You can sell trains back, I think, for half value. You can sell track for half value as well if you need to rip up your track. You're limited by the number of cubes you have, although in some of the scenarios you'll have 2 color sets for the spike scenarios and very low number of players. Okay, so we're at the end of the player's construction and operations. We're going to hit the price changes where I just roll some things, and then for replenishing cards, I'm going to do that now because it doesn't really hurt. What's going to happen is all these routes flip up. So now there's an El Paso to Albuquerque, making this run impressive. This probably yellow has the jump on it, but they're only 1 space in. White's not far from being able to set it up as well, and they might be able to get a good run there. And then we have Salt Lake City to Grand Junction. Grand Junction's an interesting place. You can't sell anything there, but it's important for passenger routes. These are kind of interesting. They discard when certain other cards come into play that involve that route. So the Salt Lake City to Grand Junction goes when 22 goes. I think 22 is Salt Lake to Denver or Pueblo, but it may be Salt Lake to Santa Fe or something like that. They've added some cards to it. And then the final one is Pueblo to Grand Junction, which dies. Okay, obviously 22 is probably Denver or El Paso. This is discarded when 20 is taken, but it counts as money, as does this one, towards either card 20 or 21. So these are kind of bonus cards to setting up routes. If you already are established with that passenger route, you get a discount on buying the upgrade that kills it, or even a different upgrade. That's it for cards. I got to do the prices, and after that we're just going to push the turn marker into 3. Now in 3 the IDE goes up, which just means it's going to inflate the prices slightly on some of the commodities. You'll notice some of them aren't affected by IDE. For example, gold and copper. It's especially bad for gold. Gold doesn't tend to move very much. It's not very volatile. Some interesting price fluctuations. For example, silver got a very, very low roll, a 2, and jumped up to 400 a load of silver. That makes this Heber City load very, very likely to get delivered unless Purple sees something else. Bingham's copper. Nothing else is near them, so there's a good chance they're going to dump those for silver. That'll depress the price when they can get it. They're all set up for it. They have the trains. Why don't they make the money now? It's not going to go any higher, right? We see the lumber market becoming very depressed. And the coal market kind of shifting around. Denver coal is valuable, but Salt Lake City's actually dropped. And without anybody selling, that's kind of unlikely that it hit bottom, but that's the way the life happens in this game. There's a lot of variance that can occur in some of these rolls. Anyway, keep going. So the players have dropped their prospectors and surveyors out, and already yellow's beginning to feel a crunch. They need more surveyors. They want to head out this way. Now, it's possible to go 2 spaces at a time, which is also something that players may want to do. They have to roll, I think, on 2 dice higher than the distance they're traveling. So, for example, white may want to get to El Paso quicker and go 2 in a row. But what yellow's seeing is they want to get up to Albuquerque, but they also want to get to Silver City, which they're claiming. And there's other stuff there. Pinos Altos and Mogollon both have cards out there. There's a lot of rich cards out there. They also kind of would like extra prospectors, but that's usually not a good move. Even though there's a lot of stuff out there and it's possible with people drawing off the deck, green and red are saying, hey, there's nothing near me. What's blue going for? Blue's picking up that Denver to Pueblo card, so they don't have to prospect off the deck. But for the most part, red's the only player, or yellow's the only player who's sitting there saying, I could actually use 2 prospectors now. It's only $200 to grab a level 0 surveyor, and if you're not competing, you might as well, you know, if you have that extra expansion. So everybody's got to kind of think about that. Of course, that's $200 you spend, and then you got to spend more each turn as you're building the track. It's, you know, the net cost of the track is the same, but people are running not low on money, but we see, you know, that 1,800, it's gone down. There's people close to 1,000 at this point. That still seems like a lot of money, but it's not. It can disappear pretty quickly if you can't turn it around and start selling some goods. Okay, so purple was our first player this turn, and he picked up the item he was looking for, which was Bingham. He didn't get a great roll on it. He actually got a 1, but with 6 additional, keeps the mind going, picks up some copper. He doesn't have it hooked up yet, but he does have Heber City hooked up. And he's got a 24 train. That's enough, as we calculated, to haul things back to Salt Lake City. He's going to drop 4 silver. Now, silver, gold, and copper don't go into specific locations, so it doesn't really matter where he puts it. He has to put it in the silver thing to keep track of that, but it doesn't matter which place he sold it at. Now, he sold 4 of them at 400. He's going to get $1,600 for that. And Heber City, because it's played out, is going to go away. So I'll give him the cash and keep playing. Jumping ahead a few slots, yellow finished their turn up. And the Silver City mine they picked up, they rolled a 2. It depletes on a 2 through 8. With the +6, they still didn't get anything out of it. Which is kind of the sucky thing about some of the more valuable ones. You may not get nothing out of them. Coal, you know, this will tend to produce throughout the game, so you can always crank money out from it. Collected their money for their run, and then they did buy that extra surveyor. A little iffy about it without the silver, but they want to cut up into here eventually. They want to race there. So $200. They're not the only person, but they've dropped below 1,000. Just kind of a painful situation, to tell you the truth. And the 2 trailing players, red and green, both had good turns, both had good draws. Steamboat Springs, coal for green. Steamboat Springs is up here, not too far from where they're going. And, you know, once you've already expended your prospector, you might hook it up eventually. It's an appealing choice because there isn't much out there. And for red, they pulled one of the Leadville cards, an expensive one, cost them $250, 200 to buy, 50 to operate. But it's a good producer as well, and they're going to be close to Leadville. cutting up this way. They hooked up to Boulder. Now, and blue bought an extra train, green bought an extra snowplow. Now we're going to determine the price changes. It's a little different, but we've got some additional cards to flip up. Let's just take a look at these. Denver to Leadville, big payout, 120 bucks. Not as big as this other one, but this one lasts forever. So that's kind of appealing. Salt Lake City to Grand Junction. This is one of the big halfway cards that goes away. And we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 more to come. Alamo and South Fork. And over here on the price chart, I'm going to roll a little bit because we've got the precious metal there, the silver in the pit. I just want to show you that. So first let's get the gold out of the way. I roll a 5. A 5 is no change. The copper, I roll a 6. That's a -1 to the copper market. Now the silver is 2 dice plus 4 minus the IDN, which is now 1. So it's going to be 2 dice plus 3, which gives me a 15. That can't be good. That's down 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now the silver that, say, is an Aspen or Westcliff is really questionable. It's not very valuable for a while. So track that's been built to go to these places seems more of an expense than it would otherwise. Green in particular has spent a lot of money there, down to 850 at this point with the heavy prices they've been paying. I'll finish up the rest of the rolls. Everything else, nobody sold anything. This goes away. Nobody sold anything. So what's going to happen is, in general, that IDN value is going to be a subtractor, and it's going to drive some of the prices up. Otherwise, I'm just going to load this one up. One thing I do want to note, though, it's a black turn. That means it's winter, so the white track can't be used unless you get a successful snowplow on it. Can't be used to haul goods, can't be used for passenger routes, can't be used for anything. Anyway, indeed, this one's going up.